On today's video, I'm going to show you exactly what a fitness model eats in a day. Don't get too caught up over a fitness model. What I really mean by that is understanding what our body needs in terms of our daily calorie intake and how much from that is built up of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, as well as how many meals, what they consist of, and how I prepare them. Now, I'm 5'10", about 170 pounds, so my daily calorie intake I've calculated for maintenance is around 2,800 calories with approximately a 40-40-20 split. What that means is 40% of those calories comes from protein, 40% comes from carbohydrates, so equal protein and carbs, and the remaining 20% come from fats. And don't forget, all of this information can be found in my book, Ultra Lean, which also includes a 12-week nutritional plan and everything you need to know about mastering your metabolism, which at the end of the day allows us to gain better control towards building and maintaining lean, healthy muscle mass and starving off or burning our body fat, which essentially is just stored energy. Okay, with that being said, let's get started on our first recipe of the day. So let's get started with breakfast. Now, we're making a pancake here for breakfast. I've got another option as well with a smoothie. Here's what we're gonna put in. 3 egg whites. Now look, the yolk isn't bad, but if you're just having whole eggs, you've got the yolk, the egg whites. Yes, you've got 6 grams of protein, but you also have about 5 grams of fat. So if you're having 10, 12 eggs to meet your protein requirement, look how much fat that you're getting in there as well. We're gonna add our protein, 25 grams. So a little under a full scoop. So my carbohydrates are about 65 grams for this meal. Cottage cheese, little secret ingredient there, helps to kind of keep the pancake fluffy and stop it from going flat. Oats, about 40 grams here, really not that much. This is much better than using any cooking spray. Normally make about 2 smaller sized pancakes here. I'm gonna peel and slice this banana and just layer it in. All right, let's get the first one up there. Just gonna finish off with our honey and peanut butter. A little bit on the side there. That's what you'll find within this day's worth of eating. Yes, we're eating a lot of food, but the portions aren't huge, and we're also not over-consuming by having tablespoons of peanut butter here and there, because by measuring everything out first, we have a much better understanding of what the true serving looks like that will still give us the necessary protein, carbs, fats, those macronutrient requirements. I'm gonna finish this off just with a handful of raspberries on the side. Again, little extra calories, little extra sugar, but not enough that it would really warrant me changing the ingredients or the recipe. This is essentially what a pretty high calorie breakfast looks like for me on any typical day. I've got about 44 grams of protein, 65 grams of carbohydrates, fats come in around 12, it's about 540 calories, and again, more calories in breakfast than I would typically have in any other meal except for my post-workout. All right, let's move on and have a look at option 2 for breakfast. Okay, let's have a look at another option for breakfast. Protein smoothie, but still matching those 44 grams of protein, 65 grams of carbs, 12 grams of fat. You see a common theme here. Every meal that I have matches the same macro ratio and calories, providing a consistent intake pretty much at the same times a day, throughout the day, same quantities. That's what I've done for the past 20 years. Let's get to it. Got a blender again, ingredients here. And yes, look, you can just put oats, protein powder, maybe some peanut butter and a banana, mix it up and pretty much get close to your numbers. But this way it allows me to get all of those numbers that I need in. First up, oats, 30 grams. We're gonna add some fruit in, low glycemic, high in antioxidants. We've got 85 grams of blueberries, 85 grams of raspberries in there as well. This is bran fiber, 20 grams. Not only does it add extra fiber into our smoothie, which is really important, something I'll talk about in later meals, but it also helps bind everything together and give it more of a thicker consistency. And then another favorite of mine to add into these smoothies, this is Greek yogurt, 60 grams. And finally, we've got 20 grams of peanut butter in there, 30 grams. You can see we're not getting all of our protein just from one source, at least within these breakfasts. You can do, like I said with the eggs, just make sure that your carbs or fat content are going to be equally matched with the other ingredients that you're adding in. I'm going to add some ice, about a quarter there. Handful of spinach in there. All right, let's turn it on. And by the looks of it, this is a 20 or 20 ounces, so you get about 20 ounces of protein smoothie in there. Again, the spinach will make it turn green. You get all the nutrients that we need in this protein smoothie. Quick and easy, great start to the day, and we match our protein, carbs, and fats requirements for this meal. Okay, moving on with the rest of the day. Now, we've got breakfast out the way. We know that we've got a post-workout coming up, and then the final meal of the day is actually a kind of a half protein, no carbs, no fats, just a little bit of protein later on at the end of the day. So that leaves essentially 3 meals left, which I refer to as day meals. Protein is the same, 44 grams. Carbohydrates, a little bit lower, it's about 40 grams, and fats are the same as well as breakfast. So protein and fats are pretty much the same for every meals throughout the day. Carbohydrates, a little bit higher for breakfast, a little bit higher for post-workout, a little bit lower in our day meals, and then practically none at nighttime. Okay, our first meal are turkey patties. What we've got here, 110 grams, about 4 ounces thereabouts of ground turkey. This is about 97% lean. 50 grams of oats, 1 egg, and then we've just got some vegetables, onion, mushrooms. So this is really simple. Just gonna take a mixing bowl, add our turkey, add in our oats. I'm gonna crack the egg and add the whole thing. Also, it helps bind everything together. It's also adding 6 grams of complete protein, about 5 grams of fats in there as well. Move on to our vegetables. Now, I don't really weigh out the quantities of vegetables, really because it's too much extra work, and also it's not gonna make that much of a difference. It's not like you're gonna be overeating broccoli or eating too many onions, so just add as much in as you want. So I mentioned the fiber content of that, the benefits of that, but also it just adds more volume to our foods. Great in our meals where we want to control the blood sugar level, keep that steady so we don't have these fluctuations of sugar, which, if you don't know, if we have high sugar content within our blood, our body will pump out insulin, which is a fat storage hormone. So we want to keep insulin levels pretty much down to a low, keep them consistent throughout the day. And one of the ways that I do that is through eating this kind of meal schedule. Low to medium heat, heats up pretty quickly. Just gonna get our hands in there and start mixing all of the ingredients together. These are great hot or cold. Okay, we've got our broccoli in there. Just gonna put a lid on, let the steam cook that. One of the healthiest ways to cook, certainly vegetables, salt and pepper. And as for condiments, I keep those low calorie too. Mustard, yellow mustard, this is a nice little twist on that. It's a dill mustard. Tabasco hot sauce, I use that. Little white vinegar as well. So low calorie, low sodium condiments, sauces. Everything's cooked, heat's off. I'm sure you've heard something similar along the lines before. I don't eat for flavor, I eat for the nutritional value. And whilst that should be your priority, at least in my opinion, you want to enjoy your food. So have some flavor, season it, have some extra sauces. As long as you're getting the minimum requirements in, all those other things are going to be easier to cut back, scale back as and when you might need to. Look at that nice serving of green, fibrous broccoli. We got our 1, 2, 3 patties. Like I said, I might season that with a little bit of Tabasco, a little bit of yellow mustard. Same as our breakfast for protein. So we got our 44 grams, which if we divide by 5, 6, that's our 240 something grams of protein for the day. Carbohydrates, a little bit lower than breakfast. We're around 40 grams, mostly from those oats that we've added in. And then fats, really just from the fats that we've got within our mixture here. we're just under 12 grams. So again, matching our fat, carbohydrates, and protein requirements for this meal. So there we have it, the first of our day meals. Now let's move on and have a look at another 2 options of essentially the same calorie and macronutrient breakdown as this. This one, 3 simple ingredients, 4 if we count the fat. We've got some chicken, which is actually pre-cooked. This is from a company called Trifecta. They do a lot of really good organic proteins. Our numbers are pretty much the same. We need 150 grams of chicken. This is about 170 grams, so I'm gonna let those extra 20 grams slide. Our carbohydrates, I'm using a yam or a sweet potato. We're looking at 200 grams of that. Vegetables, we're gonna have a big handful of steamed spinach. And then for our fats, this is flaxseed oil. We used it earlier in one of the recipes. Some healthy fats, high in omega-3, 6, and some 9s as well. All right, let's get started. Carrot peeler, I'm just taking off the skin. Chop it into about 1/2-inch discs, and then I cube it. So I turn these discs into, I guess, 1/4-inch cubes if you like. We've got our sweet potato cut up there. I'm gonna put some water in our pan. Typically I'll boil these. Sometimes I'll just slice them right down the middle, put them in the oven, 40 minutes, bake them. Just gonna put that into our water. Season it with a little bit of salt. On with our chicken. Now these come in already portioned packs. They're cooked, so you can literally just eat them right out the pack, but we are gonna cook and prepare it a little bit more. Now, I will say this about cooking. Whenever we cook something, we change its molecular structure. We're essentially breaking it down. So when you think about complex carbohydrates, what are they? Those are long chains, long molecular chains of glycogen, sugar, essentially. So the longer the chain, the longer it's gonna take to digest. That is a slow-releasing complex carbohydrate. What are short-chain carbohydrates? Simple sugars, often processed, manufactured, or changed by the way we cook. So if we really heat up our yams, we chop them down, we mash them, we bake them, we're essentially shortening or softening, changing the long chain molecular structure of that carbohydrate. And what that really means is how quickly our body will digest it and convert that into sugar into our bloodstream. So we don't want to overcook it. We don't want to make it so soft, basically into that mash. We're just softening it up a little bit so it's easier and tastier to eat. And then you could butterfly it, but I'm just going to kind of slice it diagonally like this. I'm showing you something that is pretty much the simplest, most effective way of cooking to meet the highest macronutrient and our caloric needs for our body each day, which, as I mentioned at the beginning, is about 2,800 for me. Now that's maintenance. If I wanted to put a little bit more size on, I might bump that up by about 500 calories. Not going crazy here. Now I'm going to measure out the serving size here. Big handful of spinach there. As you can see, I'm adding fiber, vegetables, micronutrients to near enough every one of my meals. Maybe not that post-workout, maybe not the final meal of the day, but at least 3 or 4 meals throughout the day. My goal here is to maximize fiber intake, which, believe it or not, should be around 25 grams a day. Now, most people, especially in America, aren't anywhere near to that. In fact, they're probably not adding any extra fiber into their diet at all. But we are, and it's going to make a difference. So whether it's breakfast or at least 2 or 3 of those day meals, make sure you are adding at least a serving, a handful or 2 of broccoli, spinach, other vegetables, peppers, especially dark green leafy vegetables. Add a little bit of vinegar to our spinach. That's a big serving there, great. This will be another familiar plate if you've been following me online. I'm a big fan of yam. chicken as well, or I'll mix it up with salmon, steak, beef. But yeah, this is essentially day meal number 2. The only thing left is adding about 6-7 grams, about a teaspoon of our flaxseed oil here. You can put it everywhere. I actually like to put it over our sweet potato. Same as our previous meal, 44 grams of protein, 40 grams of carbohydrates, fats are around 12 grams, and we've got that extra fiber content, which is at least 4 or 5 grams in there as well. So getting close to our 25 grams a day. All right, let's move on and have a look at our third day meal option before we get to our post-workout. We're using steak for this one. Again, trifecta organic meal prep. This is already pre-cooked and packaged, so I'm just gonna use this. Rice, whether it's brown or white rice, to get that sort of 40 gram of carbs for our requirement, again for our day meal, looking at about 60 grams of uncooked rice. I've already got it cooked because I prepared it the night before. It's often what I do with my meals, so we've already got that ready to go. I'm gonna prepare some vegetables as well to put into our skillet. Green bell pepper, again sticking with our theme of green fibrous vegetables. So I'm just gonna slice these. Next, I've got some green peas. These are frozen, so I'm just gonna put a handful of those in when we're cooking. We're gonna take maybe 3 or 4 mushrooms. So you can see we're not using a ton of vegetables, but we're using enough each meal just to kind of fill out that plate essentially. And again, remember, I'm showing you the best of what I would do to get in the best possible shape. Do I follow this same meal structure now? Yes, kind of. Am I eating the same amount of food? Yeah. Do my quantities change a little bit throughout the day? Yes. But I think understanding is important, so watch through this entire video, grasp the key concepts, and then try your best for a week or 2, follow everything by the numbers, and then you'll be at a point where you're a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more familiar with knowing thereabouts what your quantities and servings and therefore your macronutrients will be at. I'm just saying I've eaten this way for 20 plus years. Avocado as well, I'll often add that in. But bear in mind when we're adding in something like avocado, yes, we're getting the fats, but we're also bumping up the carbohydrate. It's about a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every 20 grams of fat that we get from avocado, we're getting 10 grams of carbs. Is it a big issue? No. But I'm just saying that, just be aware that certain foods, when we add them into our diet, unless they're like egg whites or turkey, white fish that are pretty much exclusively protein, we're gonna be adding in other macronutrients, other carbohydrates, often sugars or fats as well. Hence why if you follow everything by the numbers for at least a week or 2, you're just that little bit more aware of what you're using and what's going on. Okay, vegetables are ready. I'm gonna plate these up now. We are well on our way to getting close to, if not meeting, that fiber intake, which is around 25 grams a day. Okay, steak is cooked. Set that to our plate. And another one of our day meals, essentially matching the same calorie and macronutrients as our previous 2 meals. So whether I'm having a different meal each time, or I might choose just to have one of these meals and cook it 2 or 3 times the night before. 44 grams of protein, about 40 grams of carbs. Fats we've got within our steak here as well. So we're looking at close to 12, plenty of fibrous, green, micronutrient-rich vegetables in there as well. It's one of my favorite meals. Now let's move on and have a look at our post-workout meal, which I've really split into 2. An immediate post-workout and another smaller evening meal or dinner, if you like, that I eat about 30 minutes after. So let's clean up here, take a look at that. Here we go with our pre-workout meal. Now, how does this differ from every other meal? Well, just like breakfast, it's got a higher concentration of carbohydrates, in fact, the highest of all of our meals throughout the day, and it's got a higher percentage of fast-acting simple sugars. This is something that I've done over all the years. Even to this day, I'll have something quick after the gym, and then I eat a meal 30, 40 minutes, no longer than an hour after. So let's have a look at what that pre-workout might look like. I already mentioned we're gonna split it into 2 kind of sub-meals. First one being our protein. 40 grams of protein, so basically just a scoop. 40 grams of protein, I just mix that with water, have a shake, 1 scoop of protein in there. And then for carbohydrates, I've changed a little bit over the years, but here's what I do now. Rice cakes, which is essentially just puffed rice, brown rice. And all I do is put a little bit of honey on each rice cake. I hope by now that you can see how easy it is to overconsume calories, especially if the number of meals or the amount of times that you're eating might be that much fewer. And we're going to finish this off with just 2 dates. Medjool dates, split these open, remove the pip there. Fast-acting sugars, high glycemic. So there we have it for our sort of immediate post-workout. 40 grams of protein, plus 2 rice cakes, bit of raw unfiltered honey, and 2 dates. Easy to stack, put in a Tupperware or even a Ziploc bag, take it with me to the gym. I mean, I can finish this before I'm even in the car heading back home. And by the time I'm home, it's time to eat again. I'd rather gradually give my body the nutrition it needs post-workout than just consume 600, 700, 800 calories all in one go. And to do that, back to our white rice, about 40 grams here. And I normally make up just an egg omelet to get the rest of my protein. We're doing 5 egg whites and 1 whole egg here. So mix it up. And look, if you want to combine this meal into one, or just prefer to stick with another day meal like we've had in the previous 2 or 3 meals, maybe just adding in a protein shake immediately following the gym, your numbers are still going to be around the same mark. And if anything, it's more about the consistency and the regularity in which you do this that is more important. It's all about baby steps. Okay, as you'll probably see within this video, easy to sort of over-calculate, maybe over-analyze, overthink all of the nutrition. And maybe that's fine if you're familiarizing yourself with it, getting used to it. But there comes a point where you just feel comfortable with it. You kind of like, yeah, I know what I need to do. I know what I need to cook. I know how much I need to eat. And then you kind of fall into that regular routine. If you want to burn the fat, you've got to coax it. Coax the fat loss, tease it out. You can't go in too aggressively by dropping the calories too low or by adding in hours of cardio a day. It's going to shock the system. And when you shock the system, you create this sort of state of alert, like alarm bells go off in the body. What will happen? It will essentially shut down releasing body fat as fuel. That was one of the hardest lessons I learned when I was figuring out all of the competition, training and diet, which is really just getting my body to the leanest it can, lowering my body fat levels and keeping my lean muscle as full as it could. Got to do things in baby steps. This is what nearly 700 calories looks like for my post-workout, split across sort of 2 meals. 65 grams of protein, most of that coming from our whey isolate here. We've got about 80 grams of carbohydrates, rice cakes, honey, those medjool dates, love those, some white rice as well, and of course, good quality protein. Eggs, by the way, one of the highest bioavailability proteins out there. So if you're looking for a quick protein fix before heading to the gym, eggs, whip up an omelet. Eggs are probably going to be the best in terms of getting the nutrition in, digesting, absorbing it quickly, more quicker than any other protein. And fats, about 12 grams as well. One more meal left, and if you remember, we took half the protein already from that 6th meal, our nighttime meal. So we're only left with about 22 grams of protein, minimal carbs, minimal fat. I wonder what we could use to achieve that. And I'm not just talking about another protein shake. All right, let's clean up here and take a look at our 6th and final meal of today. So what does our final meal of the day look like? Basic, simple ingredients. We're gonna go back to our Greek yogurt, which if you're not too keen on, believe it or not, cottage cheese is an excellent substitution. We're gonna use 100 grams of Greek yogurt. Back to our protein, but this time we're only using about 20 grams. So what's that, 1/3 of a scoop? And I'll mix it up, different flavors. So I might have vanilla in the morning, chocolate post-workout in the evening. All we do is mix this in. The protein powder helps to firm up the yogurt a little more. Just scoop it up, put it into a small bowl, into the fridge. Again, if I'm making dinner post-workout or some of my day meals, it doesn't take much longer to whip this up. And when it hits 10, 10:30, even 11 o'clock, depending on what time you might sleep, you got a nice little protein-rich treat waiting for you. And look, we got some berries that we had left over from our protein pancake. Oh, but isn't that adding extra sugar? Yeah, like a tiny amount. Look, if I was doing this for competition, I don't think it's going to affect the average person trying to lose some fat, tone up, feel better about themselves. Smallest meal of the day by far, half the protein compared to the other meals because we took the remaining protein from this, should be 44 grams, we cut it in half and took half of that protein, added it to our post-workout when our body is more receptive to extra calories, even proteins, and especially those carbohydrates being more simpler, short molecular chain carbohydrates. And there we go. That is the end of what a fitness model eats throughout the day. I hope it's given you a deeper understanding of how I structure my nutrition, what's important within my nutrition, and how I just cook and prepare. And even though it looks like we made a lot of food, let's have a look at what that food actually looks like when it's all laid out, ready to go on a table. There we have it. Be sure to check out all the information in the description below, and you'll find all of this information plus much, much more in my book, Ultra Lean. It's available as paperback or it's available as a PDF download. All the information is in the link below. And finally, if you want to find out more about the why behind much of this nutrition, not just what you need to eat, but really understanding long chain, short chain, glycogen, carbohydrate molecules, how insulin is affected, and really how we can optimize muscle building, maintenance, even if you're not looking at doing a physique show, but you just want healthy lean muscle mass, especially as you age, and reduce the amount of body fat, you need to understand how nutrition can work for you. I've got a full video masterclass coming out really soon, basically just a video version of everything in my book, covers all 19 chapters. It's great for anyone just interested in understanding more about nutrition and their bodies. You'll find more of that on my website, robriches.com. I'll include information in the link below. Let me know what you think about these videos. Let me know if you follow them, if you've shifted your nutrition approach, you're following more of this sort of eating habits. Let me know, leave a comment, reach out to me on my social media. I'll be sure to be back here in the kitchen doing more recipes, talking more about nutrition, especially as we age. If you're in your 30s and 40s, a lot of this information is going to be focused on you and your goals. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Again, drop me a comment and I'll see you back here real soon. Take care.